Hi guys, this past week I was under, I don't even know what to describe it, but I was kind of almost like my family member died. Well, first of all, I saw Ukrainian girl got killed, and then I saw Charlie Kirk got killed. Irina is the Ukrainian girl's name, by the way. And I didn't seek out to that footage. I don't get involved in politics on a daily basis. I'll see videos there and there. I'll, stay up to date what's going on, but I don't, fanatically reach out to any of that content. But we all been exposed to it and we could have not see it. And yes, I do understand there's innocent people dying every day, and yet we just live our normal lives. But I think it just touched a lot of people so much because it was so senseless. It was two innocent people. They were not criminals. They didn't hurt anybody, they didn't shoot anybody, they didn't commit crimes. It was a girl, a refugee from Ukraine, trying to get her driving license, working at the pizza place. Then there was, because I think, because I could have been that girl. I moved 19 to US and that was me. I was using public transit, New York City. That could have been me, right? And then we've had Charlie, a father of two young kids and a wife and a husband, a son, regardless whether you agreed with how a bit to the extreme, he promoted Christianity and certain things he believed, but he had the right to do that. And you had the right to not watch his videos or agree with everything, and yeah, there's some things that I would word differently but he was not a racist. There's a lot of things taken out of context, small little clips taken out to make sound like he was. When he was actually employing people of color, he was for equality, he was for equal opportunity, whether you're white or black. That's what he was about. And the same with gender. He was not against gays. And he said he understood this is not theocracy, this is republic, and what you do in your bedroom doesn't matter. What he was advocating for, to leave kids alone, let them decide when they grow up, do not mutilate the kids. He was also pro-life. He wanted babies to be born. Whether you agreed with it or not, he had those thoughts that he wanted to debate people and prove him wrong. And you can prove me wrong, you can prove me wrong if you don't agree what I am saying, but don't choose violence, So I think that was the most shocking because he didn't drink alcohol, he loved his wife, he loved his kids, he was exemplary father. We need more fathers like that. And then the senseless killing, and understand there is senseless killings everywhere in the world right now. It's happening this minute, like the senseless war in Ukraine and Russia and other wars. And Israel and Palestine, everything that's going on is just sad. There's women dying, there's babies dying. But I think it impacted us because in US we don't want people killed for their political or religious views. or whether they're white or black. We don't want them to be killed. And, there we had 2 days in a row, people got killed because, well, Irina, she didn't even say anything. She got killed, seems like the society, the person was mentally ill, okay? But sounds like he was infected by society being against whites or blacks by division, because he did say, I got that white girl after. Does that make all black people bad? No, not at all. It doesn't. It's the person, right? Where we choose to believe or not believe in, if we choose to let media divide us or not divide us. But we need to remember about the humanity, about that we are all humans, and be open to other opinions and viewpoints. And the most shocking part was also, I think, that poured salt to the wound was that people, mostly from leftist, probably more extreme left, a lot of, Democrats that are kind of more to the center, did not celebrate this, but there was extreme left people that celebrated it, to my opinion, probably more on the far left side. And that was another shock, that somebody could celebrate this without even knowing probably what he was all about, that he was pro-equality, that he was pro-gays, that he was pro-family, pro-America, being patriot. Now, like I said, I do not agree the way, there's times that he could have chosen different words, or he would have probably done better if he wasn't, I think, a little bit too fanatic at some points. But that, like I said, that doesn't warrant anything. So that was the most shocking thing. And nobody likes cancel culture, and I think it's terrible. We should not have it. And a lot of times it was perpetuated by the left. For example, if people question something, even if they questioned vaccines, they got canceled, they got fired. It's okay to question something that's gonna go into your body. And, I've taken vaccines, I've taken many different ones, but I had questions, and, I didn't want to take all, after we didn't need any more boosters, I wasn't gonna take it if I was healthy anymore, and even then some people wanted to block me from attending Christmas party, and that's fine, and I'm like, okay, I'll take the booster, it's not a big deal. I think it was like a third or fourth, I think it was a third one. And I always was a healthy person, but so that's why I'm like, well, I have strong immune system, I don't need to really worry too much, even if I already had the first, the second, the third one. I felt like I would be fine if I got COVID. That gives you the best immunity anyways, getting sick, and even Dr. Fauci said that. So yeah, but it was the leftists that wanted to cancel me because I wouldn't have this, or I was debating whether I should. I didn't even say I would or would not get it. I was thinking about it. No, you can't come to the party. Anyways. So I thought this was silly. And then the other time when I, on my personal Facebook, spoke out that I did not agree with men participating in women's sports. So I didn't agree with that, and then I got canceled by an again leftist person. And that's why people are getting pushed to the Republicans, because if you just like show slight questioning or don't agree with any point, the far left would suddenly immediately label you for saying even anti-vaxxer or anti-gay or other cultures, like a racist. I do not agree with illegal immigration, but I sponsored a person to become legal. I also was illegal at one point in my life myself. I came legally to the country. I got fingerprinted. I passed all the tests, but then I was young and I didn't have the money. I got off the status, and then thankfully I was able to get the money to hire a lawyer to make me legal again. And I'm a citizen now. That was a long time ago, over 10 years ago. I've been in the US now for 20 years. There's nothing worse than being illegal in this country, and that's why I don't advocate for it. Also, the drugs and the child trafficking, people can easily come into the border when there is no paternal tests, no any sort of test, screening like that. And refugees should be able to come in, but they need to come in through the right channels and properly, if they're true refugees. So anyway, our culture is the one that divides people. And while the shooter committed the shooting, it was really I think the support of other people and that he had, even in the media, when people call certain other people fascists or Nazis or Hitlers, that is far-fetched from reality. But young minds, they're very impressionable, and they actually believe that stuff, sometimes without fact-checking. And I came from socialism. I came from former Soviet country, Lithuania, which now actually is probably more advanced than US in a lot of aspects. And it is a great country, and I'm patriot for it. I'm patriot for US. I think you should be patriot whichever country you live in. There's nothing wrong with being patriot and having American flag. I think it's so disrespectful when people in the country that they live, will step on a flag, will burn the flag. I wasn't raised like that. No matter what country I was in, if I didn't support it, I would leave. So I think people that don't like, they can leave. They can leave, and that's about it. Now, I support different cultures moving in here and going through legal port of entry. That's why we have E2 visa program for people that want to purchase our franchise. I'd love to work with immigrants. Actually, right now have a Canadian person interested in our brand. And people bring in their knowledge, their finances here. They create jobs. We want people to come here and do business. But you gotta, if people come illegally, you're not gonna have good job opportunities. You're gonna be not even considered real person. You're gonna be pushed over, and that's another thing why I'm anti-illegal immigration, is because you're not gonna unfortunately, you're not gonna be fairly treated by employers. They think that illegals have rights and all this help, but they really don't. So anyway, I recommend E2 visa or coming as a student, and there's ways to get to stay if you want to. So I wanted to share, kind of my take on things, because I only speak from experience. I lived 20 years in Europe. I lived almost 20 years in the US now. And it is, everything I speak, it's not from something else. Now, the same goes for not wanting to compete with transgenders in sports, because genetically there is XY and there's Y chromosomes. And no matter what you say, men are gonna outrun usually all the females, because I used to compete in running. I used to compete in bodybuilding. Men are just gonna have bigger muscles no matter what. You can take steroids, but don't recommend that. And it's just simple as that, that also allowing biological male to win Women of the Year award, I think, is a joke. I don't even know how that became a thing. The same I would speak out if female won the the Man of the Year award, if the women that identify as a male would win. I think they should have their own separate awards, Transgender of the Year. Why not do that? I think that would be fair, or have transgender sports. They can compete. And it is because if people say, well, if it's the same, transgender woman, transgender man is the same. So, then I would not date transgender. I would not date female that became a man, because, well, have nothing against gays or these people, but I'm just not one of them. I believe in love for everybody, and yeah, if I like the person, their personality, but I think at the end of the day, I'm attracted to a biological male, I'm a biological male. And no matter, you can put wigs, you can put clothing that reflects appearance of one gender or the other, there's still certain things you can cut parts off, but you're not gonna, in other Asian countries, they have lady boys, and everybody knows that's a lady boy, they're not claiming to be a biological female. I think there is a separation there. There should be separation there. So, again, if you don't agree with my points, that's fine. We can agree to disagree. And I'll say that I'm the most open person. I work with different gender orientations, colors, people. I get along with everybody. I love both gays and transgenders and black people and white people. I want equality. I think equality is important to black and to white people. But I almost think like DEI or whatever DEI, where they, have less strict, let's say, entry barriers to certain programs. It's almost then, are we not saying that they have lower IQ? I feel like that's even more racist. When you start giving special treatment to groups that, oh, you're weaker, you need this. Or the same with women. I actually don't very much like all women, these groups, because that creates separation. Are you that weak that you cannot compete in business, for example, with all genders? I think that actually reduces opportunity and equality when we start to say that somebody's IQ is, not as high. They need a special lower entry barrier to entry. Now with physical stuff, that's different. What I'm talking is the mental, because we have equal IQs. No matter what gender, we have the ability to solve problems, whether it's math, different things, if we study. It's all about studying. And yes, there's, different opinions that whether you study, maybe these people are disadvantaged to get into like a certain schools and things like that. But anyway. So I'm talking from my experience. I feel like this is what I gathered from recent events, and I don't like to label myself this or that or blue or red or whatever, but I'm gonna do what's best for this country. If I do have to cast my votes, I will do what I think will create peace and good economic outcomes and law and order, reduce drugs, reduce children suffering. I also think it's cruel to enable and support, for example, even drug addicts and criminals on the streets in many cities and downtowns right now in the US. We don't have that in Europe. Lithuania, for example, we don't have that. I mean, it's all rare occasions you'll see one, but because there is mental institutions and there is programs, I feel like in US we make the freedom to kill yourself to a fault where, I mean, if somebody is overdosing on the street, at that point they don't have the ability to, they don't have a sound mind to ability to decide that maybe it's not the best to be dying on the street because the addiction taken over their entire life. So maybe there should be mandatory treatments and programs and interventions, and then, catch and release. It just puts them back suffering on the street if they do commit a crime. So being soft on those things is not always the best, and it's like compassion more for criminals and people with substance abuse disorders. It actually makes it worse at the end for them, and also then for innocent people that get hurt. Like the Irina's killer seems like it's been released, many times, so cashless bail. It seems like a noble, thing to do, give them more chances, but without proper program and rehabilitation or medicine or different things to help them, it's actually not good. It creates more problems, suffering for them and others around them. So we have to, protect our people on public transportation, on the streets, people that just not in the right mind cannot, comprehend what they're doing. And yeah, I used to be more ignorant to these things, but now this is what I feel like I want to speak up because what's happening, it's really I don't know, it just affected me so deeply what happened to both of these people. It also affected me when George Floyd died. I posted a black square and everything, but I didn't see people laughing at it, and they're laughing, at Charlie Kirk. That's what's kind of the hurtful part. So I just hope people can kind of be open to communicate and understand that it's not black or white, like just because one person believes in something. Because if you don't believe in children be able to get sex change surgery, does not mean you're anti-gay. Or if you don't believe in DEI, it doesn't mean you're anti-black. No, it's the opposite. You believe that they should make their own decision when they're adults, and they also that they are capable to accomplish without handicaps, So that's just kind of where I'm at right now. I might change my opinions in the future. But also, I used to think that, oh, we shouldn't have kids because the world is overpopulated. I feel like that's a lie that's been spread. But actually, you know, we're not. And white people and Christian people are not having enough kids. And we are going to be outnumbered by Muslim and or other people, Hindu, I don't know. Not doesn't make it a bad thing, it's just the reality. But I guess if we want to preserve our culture, it's okay to protect what we have, and it's okay to have families and be Christian or spiritual, you know. And again, church doesn't equal to spirituality, you know, because there's evils in the churches as well. And that's how oftentimes devil likes to turn people away from spirituality and believing in something above, something greater out there. But I do have faith, and I believe everything works out towards the best at the end. And, you know, going through trials, tribulations just makes us stronger. So don't give up out there, and please subscribe. I'll see you next video. Thanks for watching.